Hey everyone, welcome back to the shop. It's day 2 of Project Warlock. Alright, what I've been doing almost all day long, we're coming up on about 6 o'clock tonight. What I've been doing all day long was going through my little internal battles with what I really want to do to this plane. I'm sticking true on electric and retracts. The motor came in today, and I want to explain the reason why I'm using the motor I'm using. Because it's a 40 size airplane. The motor's pretty much a 35 to 40 size motor. Now the reason why I went with that is twofold. The first one, weight, and the second one, weight. I want to try to keep the weight down to a minimum because it is, I mean, the whole plane is fully sheeted. I mean, before the turtle deck goes back, there's that one section, maybe, I don't know, 1.5 feet long, that's just open stringer. All the rest of it is sheeted. So it's going to add weight there. I mean, we are going with an old school model here. So this is the way they made pattern planes back in the day. So, what I want to do is this one, I'm doing everything in comparison to the de Havilland DH71. If you want, look at that video. It's just a bit. It's not a build video. It's just the photos of the build. That's the same exact size plane as this one. Now the length of the plane is the same. It's like 42 inches long or something like that, or 48 inches long. Now the wingspan on the de Havilland is 61 inches. The wingspan on this one is, I think, 52. So, you know, you're looking at 9-inch shorter wingspan, and it's going to have the same motor and the same battery capacity. So I really don't think I need to go with a bigger motor or a battery pack, because at that point now you're going to increase the wing loading because it's already a shorter wing. So that was kind of the reason why I'm going with what I'm going with. Now it is still a good motor. It's a Turnigy SK Drive 4240 740. Let's see if I can see that just so you can get a good view of it. There we go. They rated for 870 watts. That's what they rated at. Is it really going to pull that much? I've seen tests where people have gotten over 900 on it, and then they complain that the motor is getting really hot. Well, it's because you're pushing the motor. So what I fly this with, I fly this on an 11.8 prop on the de Havilland. And once you take off, you're never at full throttle. You're at probably 1/2 to 3/4. Now that plane, because of the flying wires and the gear that's out, you know, all the time, there is parasitic drag. And if you don't think that flying wires will cause drag, if you look at the last few pictures at the end of that video montage, you'll see the de Havilland up in the air, and the wires themselves are actually getting drawn back. So instead of being straight across, they're actually curved back just from the wind. So yes, even flying wires will slow the plane down. It's parasitic drag everywhere. So this plane, because first of all, A, it does not have flying wires, and B, it's going to have retracts. So the plane itself will be about as slick as you can get it, going through the air. So the motor will have it'll be less drag on the airplane, easier on the motor. You get higher R's, and it should not run as warm. Plus, I'll show you guys as we go along with the build how I'm going to duct this plane to have airflow through the fuselage. It's going to come in, and I'll show you through Mr. GoPro. He's sitting over there ready for me to rotate, you know, 90 degrees. I'll give you a good idea kind of where everything's going to have to go, and what I intentionally, I mean, it's my intention of trying to get it the way I want it the first time, but as you go along with these builds, things are going to change. So that's kind of why I wanted to try to do a better video series with this one, with always running 2 cameras, so that way we could jump between me just sitting on a stool here, and then me just turning over and going back to work and having everything just kind of flow a little bit better. So anyway, yeah, let me go ahead and turn over this way, and let me kind of show you what I'm working on. All right. Now, on this plane, the things that we have to do. The motor itself is gone. So what we're going to be doing with that one is this motor is going to just come right into position here. It's going to have to stand proud of the firewall. Now the little firewall, the ring, is it's in metrics, it's like 57 point something millimeters, which comes out to be basically 2¼ inches. So I've already got a 2¼ inch carbon fiber spinner coming in, so that's what's going to sit up on the nose. Now where the motor mount's going to have to go, let's see if I can have something here where I can give you some kind of indication on how it's going to slide in here. It's going to come right through here. So the motor mount's going to be set up, and I'm going to have it set up so that it's sitting off. The motor's going to be on little standoffs. Because what I want to do is I want to have airflow come through the bottom. It's going to have something that's going to come up, and I'm hoping you can see it. It's going to come up through the bottom, up around the motor, and then be able to funnel back through here. Just because it's kind of the way I'm going to have it set up. So there's probably going to be a little area, probably about 1.5 inches long, where it's just going to be a tunnel that comes in underneath the bottom, and it's going to flow through the motor cavity, and then the battery pack is going to sit right here. I'm going to have to build a little, because there's nothing that's supposed to really be here. They kind of show you pictures, but the pictures that they show you of the plane are actually these. You'll see where the top of the wing is, where the servo is supposed to be at, and then you'll also see up here. So the way that this is going to get set up is that there's going to be, so from the firewall is going to be here, this big block is going to be pulled out because I'm not using a front wheel. So if I really wanted to, I can shift everything back. I have not made a decision on that, and I'm probably just going to leave it the way it is. That's going to give me a place where I can move this battery pack, probably fore and aft, about 3 inches to get a good balance on it. So the top of the wing, where you're going to have your wires come out, that is still going to be open. So it may come back to, let's say right about here, and there'll be a stop. So I just want to make sure, and there'll be a way to strap it. Now this little piece that's going to go across here on the bottom is going to be probably light ply with some big holes drilled through it with the Forstner bits, just to lighten everything up. So that'll sit here. And as of right now, I will have a radio battery in here because I don't trust ESCs, because if this thing burns up, you lose the whole plane. So I'll have a battery pack sitting under here. It'll probably be like an 800 milliamp hour LAFE pack, and then there'll be a switch up on the top. And I'm going to show you what I'm going to have to do to get to the batteries. This is why I've been spending a whole day on this. So this will go right here, and then this will probably sit right alongside of it. And because airplanes, when you spin the prop up, they want to rotate a certain way. This is always going to want to rotate towards the left wheel, so it's going to go counterclockwise from my aspect here. So this, I'll probably have the battery sit farther to the right side of the fuselage, and then I'll put the speed controller on the left side. That way I'm putting more weight on the side to battle the rotation that the plane wants to do on the ground and in the air. So that's kind of set up right there. Now what I'm going to have to do, and this is where I really had to think about this, just to try to figure out how I wanted to set this up. What I'm going to do is right here, and I don't know how well you can see it, but there's a line. It's a base line up on the top, because they're showing the cross-grained wood on the bottom of the cockpit. That might be there and it might not be there. If it's there and it's cross-grained, you know, I'd kind of like to have it so that I can look down inside the fuselage. So this might be open or partially open. Or even if it was cross-grained, there might be a little hole drilled to the center of it, cut out, just so I can see down. So anyway, what I'm going to do with this is this line that comes all the way across and goes all the way up to the nose. That whole piece is going to be removed to get underneath, because I was thinking about cutting a line right about here. So the cockpit and the top of the fuselage on the nose of it, from here down, would come off. The problem is, what if I need to get that motor out? because the front of this, where everything goes through, you're not going to be able to get the motor out going that way. You're going to have to get the motor out by going straight up. So that's kind of where I'm running into with this little issue, is that this motor is going to have to come straight up. So this piece here, and I'm hoping it's going to work out as well as the one in the Tiger Moth does, the de Havilland, because this has to come out the same way. It comes out the top, goes straight in, and it's kind of a real pain in the butt to get down in here, because you got to rotate the motor in, let it drop down, then run the screws in from this way. So I'm hoping that that will work out nicely. I could go with a separator that's going to go ahead and put the screws farther out, but then I've got to come in from this direction, and I think I'd rather just come in from the back straight through and just call it done. So that's how I think that'll get attached to the front. And then this whole thing will be made into one piece, and I'll have to reinforce things back here. So where this little back piece right here comes down, this might be a doubler, which will be just another piece right behind it, just to double it up. And then this piece here where it will come down might be a doubler on this side as well, but it's going to come down and then all the way across and then up. So what I can do is, if I want to try to mask this when it's done being painted, because it's going to be a white fuselage, and I think it's going to have red stripes on the side and then blue stripes, thin lines going down alongside of it. So it's going to be the red, white, and blue plane. And the wings might be, it might be a double star, or a double starburst. If not a starburst, then it's just a double burst with stars in it. I kind of like to do a starburst. So two bursts with a star at the top of each burst. So I may just go ahead and do that to the top. Just, you know, patriotic, yay. So yeah, so that is my intention will be, if I wanted to, up here at the top, I can have the colors come across the nose, and then when they come down here, just rotate around, and I can have it swing around and follow this line all the way down the side and then taper back, so that where the juncture is between the two, you'll go from something that's painted white to something that's where it's a blue line. So you're not really going to see that split in the side. Hopefully it'll kind of take your eyes away from that. So that's pretty much what I worked on all day today, until I came down to the wheels, the tires conundrum. And this is kind of where things really didn't go awry, but I was trying to figure out what size tires. Now, as you can see, I've got a problem with RC planes. I've got too many of them. So I've got a lot of old tires, a lot of just things where I changed out on planes in the past, where I wasn't happy with the tire size, or because they didn't like tall grass, I ended up just pulling them off, putting different wheels on, but you still keep the old stuff because you might be able to use it somewhere else. So, looking at the bottom of the wing, where this wing strut goes through. Now, I know in the first video where you guys listen to me talk about the wing, and I was calling the wing spars the ribs, I think 3 times. So, you know, gold stars to everybody that caught that one. So I didn't catch it when I was editing. So anyway, what I decided to do was, the wheels that they want you to put on are pretty tiny. I mean, if you get into a field that's grass and it's a tall grass, these wheels are going to drag you down. You're going to have a hard time getting the plane up off the ground, because the first one is going to want to be bent back, which is going to drop the nose of the airplane down, which is going to make it not want to take off. So what I'm going to do, because this here, when I cut it, I'm going to cut this on the bandsaw, and you guys will see it. I'm going to cut this X amount back and then just shave it down. And I'm going to do it, I put the pin back in and reattach them all together, because this will get cut so that they'll all be exactly aligned with each other. And then when it comes time for me to make this hole larger, they'll just stay the same way. I'll just run this thing straight down through the drill press with probably at least a decent sized Forstner bit where I can get the cables through, because I'd like to get the cable through. So let's say that I wanted to increase this hole to, if I can get it up to a 1/2 inch, that would be more than sufficient. So we'd be looking about from the base to here. So if I can get a 1/2 inch hole through there, that'll be fine. If I needed to, I can move that farther up too if I wanted to and make it a little bit bigger. So, and that might be an option. So anyway, what I had to do, back on track, what I had to do with this was I decided that we want to find something that I'm going to be able to get as deep into the wing as possible. And even if a little bit of the tire was just barely peeking out the front, it's not going to really affect anything. I was not as concerned about that as I was about making sure that once the hole's cut, I'm not going to have a problem with these things going up inside and getting stuck up inside there. So the holes will be bigger than they need to be, but you have to do it. You don't have much of a choice. So when I looked at different tire sizes compared to the ones that are here, the tires that they want you to put on the plane are basically 2-inch tires. These here are 2.5s. Would I like to go bigger? Yes, I would like to go bigger. But when you look down here, say that this was the gear was going to, so the spar was going to be moved back to here. So I'd be able to squeak this in, about yay close, and have that sit probably not quite, but almost 1/4 inch from the spar and then 1/4 inch from the nose. What that would do is that would give me a position where I can tentatively get the wheel about yay deep in the plane. So I'm kind of hoping you can see that quite well. So I can get that set up so that wing can go just about that deep, and that should just bury it. So on the front and back, and then when it comes out, it's going to come out and sit down, and it's going to move the wheel from back here to up here. So you know, I think it's going to be good. The plane itself will like low cut grass more than deep cut grass. So it will be one of those planes that, as much as I plan on flying the living crap out of this plane, if you get up there and the grass is too tall, just like if you were trying to do a nose gear plane, just leave it on the ground. That's why I got Piper Cubs, because I know how they like playing in the tall grass. So I think that's enough of me just kind of going over the beginnings, the onset of what we're going to be working with on this plane. And you know, it's kind of pretty much like I told you. I normally sit about and look at the plans for about 3 hours just to kind of figure out, you know, what I want to do, if I want to make changes. And even if you don't want to make changes, you do have to, you know, wrap your whole mind around the project. So I've done enough plan builds where if I really had to, I could read the instructions. I haven't built, you know, 100 planes, but you know, I've built enough where I'm pretty confident on how to put these things together. So even just looking at a set of plans, you get a really good idea what you've got to do. And just by me looking at it, it looks like it's going to be a pretty easy build. So it'll be one of those ones that once I get started, we'll just start rolling right along, and everything should be good. Now there was one question I was going to have, and I haven't asked yet, because like I said, I still know I've got enough. This is silk span, and for those of you that have never seen it, it is interesting material, and I'm hoping I got enough sheets. I might not have enough sheets. I might have to get hold of Larry to see if he's got any more. I might need a couple sheets. I got to see if I've got any underneath the counter. But the stuff it's got a smooth side, and it's got or should say like a rough side, and then a shiny side, a smooth side. You got to make sure that that smooth side is on the outside. So when you put it together, I wish I had a scrap piece so I'm not chewing up a good piece. But I'll show you when I'm putting it together. It's got a grain to it. And so that if you have to, so say like on the wings, on this one, yeah, there's going to have to be, even on this short one, there's going to have to be, the wing tips are going to have to be different. They're going to have to be sheeted separately. So I will show you how you go about doing it with this stuff. It's actually, no, I could be wrong. I don't want to roll it. I probably am wrong. but it's yeah, I was wrong. So I won't have to do it. So I'll show you in the middle of the wing how they get joined together. Because what you do is you don't cut it with a pair of scissors, or if you do cut it with a pair of scissors, you tear little sections out so that there's no straight line. So then when you go ahead and you put it down and then you cover it, you don't see that seam at all. It's just, it disappears, which is amazing. You kind of wish that the one last little thing I think before I head upstairs and call it a day is the only open spot that they show on the plans and on the plane are these little open holes right here on the wing. Right there. I don't have to have those open. So what I think I may do, because I haven't decided, I haven't looked to see if it's showing it on the bottom of the wing. Sorry about the timeout there. Yeah, I'll have to look, because if it's not on the top or the bottom of the wing, I'm just going to go ahead and just continue sheeting over that. And that way, that's the only spot on the plane I was going to have to worry about with silk span and the, sorry about that, and the Minwax, polyacrylic. Because one guy says it works fine with this, where it does not make it sag. But, you know, I will be doing a test and you will be seeing the test. The test will probably come up sooner than later. Because if you go ahead and you have an open surface and then you put the polyacrylic on top of it and it sags and then it locks in that sag, you're going to have to cut it all out and replace that section. And I kind of not want to do that. So, so I just don't have any friends that have used silk span and polyacrylic. And so I'm just going by forums online, and as of right now, I just can't find out what if it's going to work or not. Like I said, one guy said that he's done it, and he knows somebody that's done it, and he said with the G, which is like the general purpose or the whatever, anyway, it's not the heavy duty, it's not the light duty, it's the right duty, it's right in the middle. So you know, he says it was fine. So anyway. All right, let's call it a day. Let's call it a day, and then I will see you guys next time I'm back in the shop. normally sit about and look at the plans for about 3 hours just to kind of figure out, you know, what I want to do, if I want to make changes. And even if you don't want to make changes, you do have to, you know, wrap your whole mind around the project. So I've done enough plan builds where if I really had to, I could read the instructions. I haven't built, you know, 100 planes, but you know, I've built enough where I'm pretty confident on how to put these things together. So even just looking at a set of plans, you get a really good idea of what you've got to do. And just by me looking at it, it looks like it's going to be a pretty easy build. So it'll be one of those ones that once I get started, we'll just start rolling right along and everything should be good. Now there was one question I was going to have, and I haven't asked yet, because like I said, I still know I've got enough. This is silk span, and for those of you that have never seen it, it is interesting material, and I'm hoping I got enough sheets. I might not have enough sheets. I might have to get hold of Larry to see if he's got any more. I might need a couple sheets. I got to see if I've got any underneath the counter. But the stuff it's got a smooth side, and it's got or should say like a rough side and then a shiny side, a smooth side. You got to make sure that that smooth side is on the outside. So when you put it together, I wish I had a scrap piece so I'm not chewing up a good piece. But I'll show you when I'm putting it together. It's got a grain to it. And so that if you have to, so say like on the wings, on this one, yeah, there's going to have to be, even on this short one, there's going to have to be, the wing tips are going to have to be different. They're going to have to be sheeted separately. So I will show you how you go about doing it with this stuff. It's actually, no, I could be wrong. I don't want to unroll it. I probably am wrong. But it's, yeah, I was wrong. So I won't have to do with it. So I'll show you in the middle of the wing how they get joined together. Because what you do is you don't cut it with a pair of scissors, or if you do cut it with a pair of scissors, you tear little sections out so that there's no straight line. So then when you go ahead and you put it down and then you cover it, you don't see that seam at all. It's just, it disappears, which is amazing. You kind of wish that it all worked like that. And the one last little thing I think before I head upstairs and call it a day is the